Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. A few weeks ago, I went to a church book sale. And I thought, okay, I'll look. Didn't know what I would find. I ended up coming home with a few books. And by a few, I just mean this small stack. You know me, books, I'm going to end up finding them. So, without further ado, let's dive on in and see what I got. So the first book that I picked up at the book sale was Princess Academy by Shannon Hale. And this actually has the Newbery Honor sticker on it. And this is, I got it because it's about princess. And I like reading mostly fantasy and YA themed books, as well as some historical fiction. But this one, the blurb on it says, "It was a lovely idea and Mary wished she could believe it, but she knew lowlanders would never allow a crown to sit on a mountain girl's head." So basically it takes place on the rocky slopes of Mount Escol, and it's about this girl named Mary, and her life will change forever when word comes that her village is home to the future princess, and all these eligible girls get to attend a makeshift academy to get ready for royal life. And Mary finds out at the school that not everyone can pretty much be as friendly as what she would assume they would be, and she does face some trials and tribulations. So I'm definitely going to be interested in reading this in the near future. I don't know how far near future, because my TBR pile unfortunately keeps getting bigger by the minute, but you guys understand that battle. Next up, I have I Was Anastasia, a novel by Ariel Lawhon. This is a story about a woman who was actually part of history. Her name was actually Anna Anderson, and she believed that she was the last Tsar of Russia, Tsar Nicholas II's youngest daughter, Anastasia Romanov. And this is basically her story from what she remembers. Like I said, she thinks she's Anastasia, but she has to go through all these tests to prove that if she really is her. She knows things that only the royal family would know, and they're trying to find out how she knows these little mysteries or hidden secrets about different people when no one else knew. This person actually did exist. For the longest time she was an imposter, and they proved it a few years ago when they actually did DNA testing on the remains of the royal family of the Romanovs, and they tested it against DNA of Queen Elizabeth II's husband, Prince Philip, because he is a distant cousin of the Romanovs, and they did prove that Anna Anderson was not Anastasia Romanov. So unfortunately, this woman, her whole life, she believed that she was Anastasia, and to find out many years later, after her passing, that she really wasn't. I mean, in a way, everybody wants a fairy tale and believe that someone could have survived the massacre of the Russian royal family from 1918. Everyone wants a happy ending. Unfortunately, that wasn't in the cards for the Romanovs, and I am going to enjoy reading this book a lot. I do love the Romanov family. I love learning about them. That's one of my favorite subjects. It was one of my favorite subjects in history class in college, along with the Tudor period. And I know I'm going to enjoy this book as well as another one that I did get. And when I do get around to reading it, I will definitely definitely let you guys know what my thoughts are on the book. Next up, we have the sequel to The Devil Wears Prada. This is Revenge Wears Prada, The Devil Returns by Lauren Weisberger. And yes, it is a New York Times bestseller. I do have The Devil Wears Prada. It's actually at my house. I haven't gotten around to reading it yet, but I know when I do, I will definitely read this back to back. But it says here, the sequel readers have been waiting for since the #1 best-selling Devil Wears Prada. Almost a decade has passed since Andy Sachs quit the dream job as assistant to Miranda Priestley at Runway magazine, the dream that turned out to be a nightmare. Andy has since joined forces with her former nemesis and co-assistant Emily to start The Plunge, a high-end bridal magazine that's quickly become required reading for the young and stylish. And fittingly, Andy's upcoming nuptials to the love of her life, Max, are set to be the social event of the season. But just when Andy thinks she can put the past behind her, a twist of fate leads her back to the darkness she barely escaped 10 years ago, and directly into the path of the devil herself. So, you know just by that summary that Miranda Priestley is going to be coming back, probably with a vengeance, knowing that her two former assistants have now teamed up basically against her and have their own magazine. So knowing Miranda, she's probably going to try and take them down. It does sound like an interesting book. I do definitely want to read it. And as I said before, when I read Devil Wears Prada, I will give you my thoughts on that book, and then I will go ahead and read this and do a comparison to see which one I like better. I have seen the movie Devil Wears Prada. I do actually own a copy of it. So it'll be another interesting way of comparing the book to the film to see which version was better. Okay, up next we have Cracking Da Vinci's Code. You've read the fiction? Now read the facts by James L. Garlow and Peter Jones. For those of you who may not be familiar with this book is about the facts behind the Da Vinci Code. And more often than not, this is where Dan Brown got the inspiration for his novel Da Vinci Code. It does explain some of the facts about it, like, for instance, it says, the controversy grows with every sale of the best-selling novel. Throughout the contemporary fictional storyline of the Da Vinci Code, author Dan Brown skillfully weaves historical assertions intended to shake the very foundations of Christianity. Was Jesus merely human and not divine? Did Jesus and Mary Magdalene marry and have children? And is there a Holy Grail? If so, what is it and where can it be found? Cracking Da Vinci Code is the long-awaited answer to these and other questions that may have troubled you or readers you know. Authors James L. Garlow and Peter Jones present compelling evidence that Brown's assertions are not only historically inaccurate, but may also contain a hidden agenda. So, this sounds really interesting. I know my fiance can't wait to read this. And we do have most of the books written by Dan Brown for Da Vinci Code. I believe we're only missing Inferno. But we can still read this even though we don't have that book. But it will be interesting to read it and definitely give you our thoughts about it. Up next, I have Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert. I have heard a lot about this from different booktubers. I know Chelsea Palmer has read this, and a few other booktubers have read it. Some liked it, some didn't. It's a hit or miss with people. But I thought I would give it a try. But what I did like about it was that it's about the author herself and her experiences and what she went through. I'll read you the summary really quick. In her early 30s, Elizabeth Gilbert had everything a modern American woman was supposed to want. Husband, country home, successful career. But instead of feeling happy and fulfilled, she felt consumed by panic and confusion. This wise and rapturous book is the story of how she left behind all these outward marks of success and of what she found in their place. Following a divorce and a crushing depression, Gilbert set out to examine 3 different aspects of her nature, set against the backdrop of 3 different cultures: pleasure in Italy, devotion in India, and on the Indonesian island of Bali, a balance between worldly enjoyment and divine transcendence. Now, I know that there is another book after this. I will try and get my hands on it if I can, but I know I definitely will like to read this one in the near future. And as always, I will give you my honest opinion on it when I do. Up next, I have another book in the Merlin series for you. This one is actually book 4 of The Lost Years of Merlin. I do have one other book. I talked about it in my video before when I went to the library book sale. And this particular story is about strange wickedness is rising from a remote swamp on the magical Isle of Finicara. To save his homeland as well as his own destiny, young Merlin must voyage to frightening places both on the land and in himself. Joined by Halia, the dear woman he has grown to love, and by his own mischievous shadow, Merlin discovers a magical mirror that can alter anyone's fate. But when he looks into it, the person he sees is the person he least expects to find. Brimming with passion and spiritual depth, T.A. Barron's 4th book in the Lost Years of Merlin epic adds a spellbinding new dimension to the legend of Merlin, the towering figure who becomes the mentor to King Arthur and the greatest sage of his time. So this will definitely be a good series. If any of you have read The Lost Years of Merlin, let me know down below what you thought of it. I'm trying to find the rest of the series. I have no clue how many books there are in it, but I'm going to do my best to try and find them all. That way I can binge read through them, because it doesn't look that thick, so it shouldn't take me long to get through them if I ever do get a hold of them all, which, fingers crossed, I can. But I will definitely let you know what I think of it. And last up, the final book that I got was Empire of the Czar, A Journey Through Eternal Russia by the Marquise de Custine. This I picked up, obviously it's about Russian history, and it follows through the history of Russia, including Tsar Nicholas I. So it will definitely be a very interesting read. It will be a very long read, as you can see how thick it is, but it will definitely be worth it. I'm interested to see how this will play out, if it's telling just like versus like historical fiction, or whether it's just general fiction loosely based on the historical events, if you get what I mean. But to see how true it is with facts, if the author decided to use any of them or not. But I will definitely let you know my thoughts on that book as well. If you have any of these books and you've liked them or didn't like them, let me know in the comments below what was your favorite thing or least favorite thing about the story, or those particular authors, or if there's any authors that you like that I might have books of that you think I might be interested in reading. Let me know down below. And until next time, have fun reading and enjoy escaping to another world.